Hello, everyone. My name is Holly, and we will have a class this afternoon, or this evening, or this morning, wherever you are, on moments in history. Hello, Julio. How are you?
Hello, Holly. I'm doing just fine, thank you. And yourself?
Okay. Great. Pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, I just had a marathon teaching, and so I took a break, and it was really nice. So, yeah,
All
excellent.
right.
So, yeah. So, when will you be returning to the university? Do you know?
Yeah, but next week. Next week I'll be
Next week.
back teaching. Yeah, but they are
Okay.
gonna take some special considerations with me because I still have problems like moving around,
hmm hmm
but I'm gonna be teaching less classes than I was teaching.
hmm
Fewer classes,
I was gonna
fewer
say
classes
fewer
yeah,
classes. Yeah.
than
Well,
before.
less classes. That's actually native speakers would say that. so
Yeah, and
so
also
that's
that's okay. Okay.
yeah.
And
So
I'm gonna
that's
be assist. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna be assisted by the substitute teacher too.
okay. So you have an assistant teacher. The
Yeah.
substitute teacher will be helping you out. All right. Excellent. And Na Young, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Very good. So Na Young, where are you from?
I am originally from South Korea, but I live in Athens, Georgia, in the United
Okay.
States.
All right. So where in South Korea are you from?
Uh, I'm from Seoul.
So, okay. I lived in Anyangsi for about 9 months, or no, 11 months. Do you know Anyang City?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is one of famous cities.
Oh, is it? Oh, that was back in 1990, I think 1995, 1996. And
Oh,
then I lived in Busan, 1994 and 1995. So, yeah. So, but I think it's changed a lot since then. So,
I think so.
yeah. How long have you been, excuse me, in Georgia?
I have been here 4 years.
Ah, okay. Yeah. So, do you go back to Korea very often?
Mm, yeah, I visit Korea every summer.
Ah, okay. And are you here permanently, or are you here just for study?
As for study now, but I'm not sure about my future plan
Mm-hmm.
after graduation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's always up in the air until it happens, I think. So, awesome. All right. Well, welcome. Are you new to Verbling? Have you been taking
Uh,
classes on Verbling for a while?
I have been taking several times.
Oh, okay. So you're new to me. So, yeah, awesome. Well, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to
So,
meet you.
all right. Um, so moments in history. So let's talk about this. We're going to read an article about different people's memory of where they were at different moments in history. And these are some of them that kind of it seems like every generation has something that happens during their lifetime that kind of defines their generation. And these are things that happened in the U.S., but many of them are worldwide uh, events. So do either one of you remember, or do you know when the first moon landing was?
Um, I'm not sure, but I think it was 1969.
hmm Okay. I know it was because it was about 7 days before I was born.
Oh.
So yeah, so it was in 1969, absolutely. Um, so were you alive during that time, or are you much younger
I was
than
born
you?
in 1983,
Okay, so you're much younger.
but
Okay,
but I'm a I'm very interested in this
in
special
history.
event because I believe not in history but in this
Uh-huh.
event because I believe that the moon landing was a hoax.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Okay.
so I kind of researched a lot about it, so the date actually stuck in my memory.
Well, hopefully we could have a chance for you to tell us why you think that, because that would be interesting to hear. Because I've wondered, it doesn't compute with a lot of people, I think, just the way we were technically wise.
Yeah.
So, Na Yang, do you know about when the assassination of President Kennedy was? Any idea?
I don't know actually. 1968.
No, it was earlier than that. I just checked because I wasn't sure. Do you know Julio?
No, I'm going to guess here, but let me see. 60. I guess it was 1965.
No, it was actually 1963, and it's funny because I was guessing before class when I was looking through this, and I didn't look at the answers. I was guessing 1961, but it was actually because I was thinking my parents were married in 1961, and I thought that was the same year that he died. But I guess it was my mother's first year of motherhood that he died. So it was 1963. Okay, so the collapse of the New York World Trade Center. So when did that happen?
It was 2002.
No.
2001.
Yeah, 2001. Which is why people talk about 9/11. Oh, no, I guess not. 9/11 is September 11. Never mind. So the release of the first Star Wars movie. I was a little girl at this time, but I actually don't remember this. So, and I guess this was before you guys were born. But any idea when this was released?
Well, I don't know. I would go with 1978.
Actually, it's 1977, and that's what I went with as well. It was 1978, but it's 77. Okay. And the death of Diana, Princess of Wales. So a non-American thing. So, when was this?
Jesus, 1990. Like it is either 4 or 6.
Nope, it's neither one. Na Young, do you have a guess? You could say it's either 5 or 7.
7?
Yeah, it was 1997. I was in graduate school at the time, and I remember this happening. So that's the only reason. It's like, okay, where was I living? What was I doing? So I had just left Korea about a year before. So, yeah. So these are the years. When it comes to moments in history, a lot of times in the States, we will ask a question like, where were you when President Kennedy was assassinated? Of course, none of us were alive during that time.
That's a great question. Like, where were we when he was shot? Where? That would be like the $1 million question there.
That's true. If we, but also the next one was, okay, a lot of people. Another one that we say in the U.S. is, where were you when? No, where were you when you heard about 9/11, 9/11? Or where were you when you heard about Diana, Princess of Wales? And those are fairly common questions. People will ask, do you remember the first moon landing? I guess my brothers were like 4 and 7, 2, 4, and 7, and the 4-year-old and the 7-year-old remember it because they were, I guess, playing on a bed and pretending to be astronauts when this happened. So, but that's a question that a lot of times we ask. So do you remember where you were, Julio, during when you heard about the collapse of the New York World Trade Center?
Sure, I remember I was in school, and I remember like a bunch of kids came into the classroom and they were shouting like the U.S. was being bombarded.
Bombed.
Yeah, bombed, and I was like really? And yeah, there's like war going on, and people are bombing the U.S. and then I checked the news later, and it was not like that. There were the planes. But at the
Hmm.
beginning, people really didn't know what was happening there.
Yeah, yeah. Because I was in Finland at the time, and that I got text messages from friends saying the same thing. That your country's getting attacked. The entire all the borders are closed. That was true, and and then it was kind of scary, kind of, but then again, it was kind of surreal too. I couldn't believe it. But Na Young, do you remember when the World Trade Center was attacked? Or
Yeah, sure. Because
where we?
the year before that year,
Uh huh.
uh, my husband and I traveled to New York,
Mhm.
Manhattan, and then we look around the world that Trade Center, and then see we took a picture from the Statue of Liberty,
Mhm.
from that side to that World Trade Center. So I actually have the picture of that, and then after that trip, one day in Seoul, my husband was calling me, like, did you see the news? That World Trade Center was collapsed. So I couldn't believe that, because we took a picture in front of that center
Mhm.
just the year before. So I couldn't remember. I couldn't forget that memory. I
Yeah.
was really shocked.
Mhm. Yeah. And that's I think is a lot of people's reactions. It was really funny for me the next day. I went to class at a. It was actually, ironically, it was at a company that um, developed airplanes for the military. And in fact, in the U.S. military, I'd actually been on a project for several years there, helping them. And so when I went to class the next morning, the whole class, they walked in and they were really solemn and they were really quiet, because they didn't know whether as an American would have had friends or relatives that were involved in New York. And of course, I live as far away from New York as London is, so it's closer sometimes to fly to young London than it is to fly to my home. So I bet people were really really quiet, and they weren't sure. So um, Ken, welcome. How are you today?
Yes, I'm fine. How are you?
Very good, very good. So a question for you. Do you remember where you were when you heard about the collapse of the New York World Trade Center?
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah, I came back to the home. I turned on the TV and I saw the building burning, uh, and I could understand what is it. It-
Mm-hmm.
I saw it was an earthquake, but New York is rare in New York. This the burning building scenery is similar to Kobe's earthquake to me. So I saw it,
Mm-hmm.
but. The news media said it was a kind of airplane crash, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I texted a message to my friend, and my friend didn't believe me. Yeah,
Oh, really? They didn't
yeah,
believe you?
hmm yeah,
Yeah. Um, yeah. I know that when I saw it on the TV, to me it didn't look like an earthquake. It looked like a movie preview. Uh, you
hmm
know, that it's like, this is this really happening? So. Yeah, Leo, the USA was being bombarded, is absolutely correct. US was being bombed is another way to say it. But bombarded, I didn't even think anything of it when you said it. So, all right, let's match the two halves of these collocations. We have pill, can't believe, be on, make, listen, land, go. And we've got photocopies, in silence, potatoes, wrong, my ears, a break, and on the moon. Ken, can you try to match one of these?
Okay. Peel potatoes.
Yeah, that's the one I know really well. It's pill potatoes. I'm from Idaho. If any of you guys know anything about Idaho, we are
Yeah.
famous for our potatoes. Julio, can you try one?
Can't believe my ears.
Can't believe my ears. Or can't believe my eyes is another way. Okay. And Nayoung, can you try one?
Yeah. Be on a break.
Yeah, be on a break. I don't know about you guys, but if you watch Friends on, Friends, remember Ross and Rachel? Ross said he was on a break. Do you guys remember that?
Mm-hmm.
If you watch that show, you'll
Sure.
know. We were on a break. No, you were not on a break. As soon as I saw that, I was like, Ross and Rachel. So Ken, can you and do the next one?
Okay. Listen in silence.
Listen in silence. Yes. Okay, and Julio.
Land on the moon. Or at least pretend.
Pretend to land on the moon. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if that was a fake. I want to hope. I believe that it isn't, but it wouldn't surprise me. Nayoung.
Mm-hmm. Go wrong.
Go wrong. Okay, and there's one more that starts with make.
Make photocopies.
Yes, make photocopies. Okay. All right, so any questions about any of these collocations?
No, all good.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and read these. These are different memories of where they were during different moments in history. Ken, could you read the first one, Margaret's story?
Okay. I was living at grandmother's home at the time. I remember it very clearly, as if it were yesterday. I was in the kitchen preparing dinner, peeling some potatoes. There was a small radio on the kitchen table. In those days, hardly anyone had a television. Anyway, they interrupted the regular program to announce that Kennedy had been assassinated. I couldn't believe my ears.
Thank you. Very good. Okay, Bill's story. Julio.
Or I wish I could remember man landing on the moon. It was 1969, and my family didn't have a television. My father had refused to buy one. We knew about the Apollo mission, so my sister and I went to a friend's house to watch. When we got there, we sat down in front of the telly. However, while we were watching TV, both the sound and picture suddenly stopped. The TV had gone wrong.
Okay, so he doesn't remember. So Nayoung, can you tell us Jason's story?
Okay. I can clearly remember hearing the news of Diana. I was teaching in Tokyo and was on a break between lessons. There were about five of us in the teacher's room, and we were preparing our classes, making photocopies. Suddenly, a teacher rushed into the room to tell us that Diana had died. We put the radio on immediately and listened in silence as the newsreader announced the tragic news that Diana had been killed in a car crash.
Okay. Any words or phrases that you guys do not know or you want clarification on? Okay, so we will go on. Okay, let's write full sentences using the cues below. For Kennedy's assassination, I live at my grandmother's house. Hello, Nada. How are you?
Hi. I'm good.
Good.
And you?
Very good. Everyone, this is Nada. She's from Saudi Arabia, but she's living in Texas. And Nada, this is Na Young, and she's from South Korea, but she's living in Georgia. And then Julio from Mexico, and
Hola.
Ken from that one country, Japan. So,
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
all right. And okay, so let's go ahead and see if we can put these sentences together. So the Kennedy assassination. Ken, can you do the first one? Number 1.
Kennedy. Maybe. Okay. I live. I kind of correct the order of these 3 sentences.
Well, actually, no. It's not really correcting the order. Yeah, what it is actually putting this into the correct tense. So in this respect, she was. This is in the past continuous.
Okay. I was living at my grandmother's.
Yes, I was living at my grandmother's. Yes, so I was living at my grandmother's. Perfect.
And this means grandmother's house. House is not necessary.
Correct.
I see. Okay.
I was living at my grandmother's, and the reason you've got this possessive right here because you've got this possessive, it's just assumed that it was the grandmother's house. Okay. All right, and Julio, can you try number 2?
I was peeling potatoes when I heard about Kennedy.
Perfect.
Or potatoes.
I was going to say, well, potato, tomato, tomato. So, okay.
Is it potato? Potato is like British?
Yeah. Potato, tomato, tomato. There's a song like that. Potato, tomato, tomato.
Heard.
Yeah. An Idahoan wouldn't say potato, but I'll accept it. So, Na Young, can you try this one?
They announced that Kennedy was assassinated.
Yeah, it was assassinated. In the answers here, they say they announced that Kennedy had been assassinated. But you can also do this she's telling a story. It would be in this in the present perfect here, because they announced that the Kennedy had been assassinated. So, all right, and the moon landing. Nada, can you try this one? What do you think?
I don't understand what.
Yeah, we're basically adding the verbs, is what we're doing. And it's past tense.
Okay. My family wasn't have a television.
Okay, instead of was, in this respect, we'd say my family didn't have a television.
Okay.
Didn't have a television, okay. And Ken, can you try the next one?
Okay, we did not have a TV because my father refused to buy one.
Yes, so we didn't have a TV because my father refused to buy one. And Julio, next one.
Sorry, I was muted.
Okay, no worries.
When we got to the house, we sat down in front of the TV.
Yeah, exactly. Or from in front of the television, but TV, yeah.
I
Okay,
have a question about the second
Mhm.
sentence.
Mhm.
Could it also be like we hadn't had a TV because my father refused to buy one?
No, we can't. I hadn't had. That sounds very strange to me. No, it's not possible.
Excuse
Okay.
me. What about we haven't?
We haven't. Well, we hadn't a television. Is what you could say. But that sounds strange, but it's grammatically correct. You could say that we hadn't a television because my father had refused to buy one. But I think mostly in the it's mostly didn't have instead of hadn't.
Yeah, it makes much more sense the way it is because in that way, first he refused to buy the TV, and well, no, that's tricky. But yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds more natural.
Mhm. Yeah. Right. And next one. Let's see. Who are we at? Okay, Na Young.
Mhm. While we were watching TV, the sound and picture suddenly stopped.
Perfect. Okay. And Nada, number 5.
The TV wasn't go wrong.
Okay. Well, it's again, and it's a different word. The TV had gone wrong. The TV had gone wrong. And I wouldn't even say it this way. I would say the TV broke. Is what I would say. I'd make it much easier.
It's better than this.
Yeah. The TV had gone wrong. For me, I've taught it for years, and because it always comes up in material, but I've never personally said it. So
I have a question there, Hobby.
wrong. Yeah.
And sometimes I get confused about when to use broke down and just broke. Do you have any hint there?
Yeah, well, yeah, we could have said usually broke down has to do with cars and things that are moving. So if it's not like a TV isn't moving, doesn't have wheels, then we would usually say the TV broke. Where a car or a boat, we would say we're broken down on Highway 19. Could you come pick us up? For example.
So breakdown has a nuance that it actually broke and stopped moving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to there's another phrasal verb though, like if a person has a breakdown, that's an emotional breakdown.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that one.
Yeah. So that's another one. So, so she broke down and cried after she finished.
She broke down into tears.
Yeah, she broke down into tears. She broke down and cried after she finished her routine or whatever. So.
Okay.
That's another way it's used. You're welcome. Next one, Ken, number 1.
I was teaching in Tokyo.
Yes, I was teaching in Tokyo. Okay, and number 2, Julio.
I was on a break between lessons.
Yes, I was on a break between lessons. I've lost my mouse. Okay, bear with me. I'm lazy now. I like to copy and paste. It's so much easier. So, if I can. Okay, and Na Young, next one.
Mm-hmm. While we were preparing our classes, a teacher rushed into the room.
Okay, now as far as that goes, the word rushed, it's a past tense ed, and it has a sh sound. And with the sh sound, it's a t after that. So rushed,
Rushed.
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 So there's no. So forget that there's an e there at all. So the teacher rushed. So you can, for example, this is a rough pronunciation. You can say rushed.
Rushed.
Rushed. Perfect. Rushed. Yep. Okay, and then Nada, next one.
The teacher was telling us Diana did.
Okay. Now, let's try to make this into instead of using a helping verb was, Nada. Let's see.
No.
Let's see. What is the past tense of tell?
Told.
Told. Okay. So how about we say this? The teacher told us, Diana. What do you think the next word would be? The teacher told us Diana either died or had died. Okay. The teacher told us Diana had died. Okay, Ken, can you put the next one on? Or can you put the next one on? Can you do the next one?
I put the radio on.
We put the radio on. Perfect. All right, and the final one, Julio, can you do that one?
The newsreader announced Diana had been killed in a car accident.
Yes. Car accident, car crash, same thing.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, it's not a problem. But I'm going to put crash, even though you said accident, because I'm copying and pasting. So, okay. Can you think of any memories, any event in recent history where something major happened? What were you doing at the time? Okay, this is right. We already actually talked about that a little bit already before class. So, okay, questions related to the text in exercise 3. Many people in the USA can remember the exact moment when they heard about Kennedy's assassination. How about in your country? Are there any similar famous events? Ken, can you tell us, in Japan, are there any similar famous events where people remember where they were when?
The biggest one happened several years ago, earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear power plant accident. Yeah.
Okay, so the tsunami a few years ago.
And the earthquake,
Okay.
and the three big things happened at the same time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What were the other things? There's tsunami and
Earthquake
what else?
is pretty intense.
Uh-huh.
And nuclear power plant accident.
That's right. Oh, yeah. I remember that. Yeah. Yeah. And Julio, can you think of something about Mexico?
It was about 1995 or something. That was the first time, well, in my generation, that we had economical crisis, like the dollar, that the exchange between pesos and dollars was about three pesos per dollar, and it suddenly skyrocketed to 10 pesos per dollar. So it was like a huge change in my country. Like all the goods like started to go up, and nowadays it's still terrible. Like now the exchange is 15 pesos per dollar, so it never went down.
Really? Never went back down.
Yeah,
And that
never.
was a long time ago too, in 1995, 1997.
Yeah, and something that happened back there is that back then, sorry, is that Mexico had a company called Telmex, which was a government company that provided the phone service to all the country, like had all the infrastructure and everything. So in that year, the government sold Telmex to a single person, and that person became the richest man in the world, which is Carlos Slim. And it is like ironic how the same year that we all became poorer than we were, a single
Mhm.
man became the richest man in the world. So it was just like a slap in the face for all the Mexicans.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like it. Wow.
And
Um,
we all remember that that
uh-huh.
that year.
Does he still live in Mexico or has he left?
He has a lot of his assets in Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
but like all rich people, like they don't live here. They live in the U.S. or Europe.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, or in Finland, they all live in Monaco. All the Finnish rich people, because if they don't live in the country, unless you're an American, if you don't live in the country, you don't have to pay all the high taxes. So,
Hmm.
um, Na Young, how about in Finland? I mean, excuse me, in Korea.
Yeah, we have similar accident event like Kennedy's assassination in
Mm-hmm.
Korea as well in 1970 something years. Um, the President Park, uh, his name is Park Chung-hee Park.
Mm-hmm.
He's the most famous president in our history. And then he was shot and killed by one of his I don't know, assistant staff something.
Mm-hmm.
So it was huge and then very serious the event at that moment. And then several years ago, it was maybe in 2008 or 9. One of the other Korean president was killed by himself after retirement of his
Oh.
position as a president. It was because of his corruption things. So his corruption was revealed
Mm-hmm.
by one of the big media in Korea, and then he decided to kill by himself.
Uh-huh.
One
So
day.
what he did with that is he committed suicide.
Yeah, he committed suicide.
Okay. Now, Young, when I was in Korea, when I was in Korea in 1996, there was a couple of former presidents who had been arrested because of corruption and because of I guess it was a massacre on some university students um, uh, during a protest.
Mhm.
And they were they were possibly going to execute the former president that ordered that. Do you remember anything about that?
1996.
Yeah. I've
Uh,
always wondered what happened.
yeah, it is kind of a shameful history, but
Mm-hmm.
not only one former president. Actually, we have several former
Mm-hmm.
presidents has been sentenced,
Either executed or sentenced,
arrested. Yeah, arrested.
or arrested. I
Yeah,
spelled that wrong.
and then mm,
Yeah. Do you know what happened to them at all?
they're doing fine actually.
Are they
Just
still alive?
Yeah, sure. Just
Okay.
one former president was committed suicide. The
Okay.
rest of them are doing really well now.
Okay. Yeah, because I just remember that I was like maybe just a few miles from one of them that was in prison, and my students told me that they were deciding whether they were going to execute him, which is to kill him,
Uh,
because of the massacre.
that wasn't happen actually.
It didn't happen.
It
Okay.
didn't. It didn't happen.
Yeah, because I never heard anything after that, and I left the country, so I never knew if that ever happened, or if things got better and so forth. But it was just a lot of parents that were very angry at him because their kids had passed away, of course. So, all right. So let's go on to the next one. Questions on studying history. So, um, Ken, did you enjoy studying history at school? Why or why not?
I think, yeah, I enjoyed studying history, and because I could know the things I didn't know in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm a kind of humanitarian field kid, so
Mm-hmm.
I prefer such subjects more than math and physics.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in, but I don't have a talent for studying these. So, yeah,
So you don't have a talent for studying what?
math or physics.
Oh yeah. Okay. So you're not into the sciences. You're more in the humanities or the liberal
Yeah,
arts. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um, and Julio, how about you? Did you enjoy studying history at school?
I have like a love-hate relationship with history because I do like history and I did enjoy studying history when I was at school.
Mm-hmm.
But I know it's a bunch of lies.
Mm-hmm.
So the more you research about it, you realize that there are different perspectives on every single historical event. And
Mm-hmm.
at the end, like history is written by the winners, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that's true.
conquerors. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel really ashamed when I realized that we were celebrating like the Spaniards when they came to Mexico and conquered Mexico and how they established this religion that we worship today, which is the Catholic religion, and how we go to churches and we celebrate the day that this guy, I don't know how to say in English, Christoph Columbus came to America, and that was the day that our people was doomed. That was
Mm-hmm.
the day that our culture started to disappear.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the more you learn about history, the more you realize that they are like bullshitting you all the time at
Mm-hmm.
school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've come to a very similar conclusion to a lot of it. Some of it's very fascinating and so forth, but like for example, Thanksgiving in the U.S.
Mm.
I like the idea of taking a day and giving thanks. That I do. But if you talk to me about the Pilgrims and how the Pilgrims, were invited the Indians to them. No, that's not what happened. That is not the correct history. So it drives me crazy when kids come home from school and have been taught that crap. So not, but anyway, Na Young, did you enjoy studying history at school? Why or why not?
Actually, I don't enjoy. I didn't enjoy, and I don't enjoy. Still don't
You still
enjoy
didn't
some
enjoy history.
history.
Well, the Korean history is very, very long, too.
Yeah, but I have some problem to remember the year and the people's name, many people's name. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I think it's kind of any kind of syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
But my younger brother's major is history, Korean history. But the people who enjoy studying history, generally they have some kind of depression, I think, because they need to keep thinking about our past history,
That's
and
fast.
then think they tend to think really in depth of each event, and then they usually told me, they usually tell me like, the human, the the history is has some
Mm-hmm.
cycle, so we're on the same cycle. I don't know why they are thinking like that way, but my younger brother has also same the mind.
Hmm.
Actually.
Yeah, that just might be a coincidence, though, because I don't think all historians are like that, but possibly a lot. Because it's funny because I think that about people who study psychology.
Right.
So, anyway, all right. Well, thank you, Nayoung. Ken, do you think history is taught properly in schools nowadays? Would you change anything?
Not properly, because history can be interpreted in different ways. So
Uh-huh.
that kind of manipulation or kind of propaganda happening around schools. University teaching is relatively good because, but until high school, teacher have to teach according in accordance with a kind of stiff curriculum. They have to follow that. So
Yeah.
it's not a free education actually. Yeah.
Yeah. In a university, they get a little bit more. People
Right.
start questioning more. Mm-hmm.
I mean, teachers curriculum.
Are
The university
they,
teacher doesn't have to follow the curriculum from the education ministry, but
oh,
until the high school teacher, yeah,
uh-huh.
they have to follow the curriculum from the education ministry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But in a university, they don't. They can do what they want.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. All right. And so, Julio, you've already said that you don't think history is taught properly. Do you have any more to say about this? So, is there anything that we can do or educators should do to change this?
Well, I've been perceiving a change in how schools are addressing education now, and the thing that I like about it is that I've seen that the teachers now, like, instead of just lecturing students, they encourage students to do research themselves. So they would tell them, like, okay, today we're going to learn about the independence of this country. So first, I want you to go to the library or go online and bring me information about what happened, what caused, what were the causes of the independence, what were the events that were happening before, and then the students, they would go to university, to the library or to the internet. They would research, yeah, and I like that they first encourage students to research themselves, to get closer to the tools that they need to investigate about an event, and then later they will all together talk about it, and then we come to terms of what happened. So
That
I
is
like that
awesome.
approach.
I hope they're doing that in the States as well. And it probably depends on the teacher, it depends on the school district, and so forth. So is that what's happening in Mexico right now?
Yeah, that's been happening. I actually was talking with a nephew, and he was telling me about how they are approaching not only history but all major
All
subjects. Yeah.
subjects. Yeah, that to me is awesome. Of course, that's the way I like to teach anyway. I like to find out what my students know first, and then fill in the gaps. So, all right. Nayoung, what do you think? Do you think history is taught properly in schools nowadays? Would you change anything?
I don't think our history education is proper these days.
Mm-hmm.
We have some problem manipulating the history for the kind of nationalism, extreme nationalism. So some of countries manipulated the history for their in the side of their country.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is the serious problem these days. So we need to develop some kind of, monitoring system, watching system for each country, history education.
One thing I wonder, Nayoung, when you were in school, was it only a lecture, and you had to kind of basically regurgitate or basically write back in essay form what the teacher said or what the book said?
I'm sorry.
Did you have to, when you were in school, did you have to just listen to lectures, or was there discussion involved in your history classes?
Actually, no. We didn't have much discussion about historical history education.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be the other problems we had.
Yeah, because I mean my understanding in Korea is that a lot of times it's just memorize and take a test, memorize and take a test.
Right.
Yeah. So you're not doing a lot of thinking for yourself or anything.
You're right.
So, yeah. I wish Jinyu, one of the students here in Verbling, he's from China and he's a history teacher, and he was telling me that in their classes there's 70 students, so they don't have they can't really discuss. He gets up and he lectures and they listen. So that's the same thing. So, okay, some other questions. Ken, what are the biggest historical events that have happened in your lifetime?
Yeah, as I said, that these three disasters happened at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the biggest.
I was totally confused, maybe, and I couldn't leave the computer maybe almost 1 month.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you were just.
I watching several TVs on the internet, and the TVs collected information what was happening, because this area was totally calm and it didn't quake at all because it was on the different plates. So, but the scenery in the TV is totally disastrous. So, yeah, I was worried about that.
Okay, and thank you. And Yulio, how about in your lifetime? What is the biggest historical events that happened?
I think even though I'm not American, like the September 11 attack, like really we are very close to the United States and we are affected by all the politics that they lay down. And yeah, but I think it totally changed our perspective of the world and how there is these terrorist groups and what's happening today, like with ISIS and what's happening in Kenya. I think the major event is about to come.
Yeah, it's interesting, Julio, because I was not living in the U.S. at the time. I was living in Finland, and I remember coming back. So that happened September 11, and I flew to the U.S. for Christmas in, I think it was the first part of December, and I made a mistake and I flew into New York, and the New York airport was a zoo because they were still trying to figure out the security system and stuff like that, and I barely made my plane with the connection because of the way they were doing it. But I got home and there were flags all over, and they were, calling French fries freedom fries and all this stuff, and I just didn't get it because I was not here when it happened, and so I had a completely different perspective of the entire event, and I found that to me that was a really interesting to me that if you're far enough removed from something, how you can see and perceive things so differently than if you're right there in the thick of it, right there. It was just very interesting. So, Na-Young, how about you? What are the biggest historical events that have happened in your lifetime?
I think the several whole event will be the biggest event for my life.
So the what event? The
several as a
or the one you were telling us about?
The big Korean cruise was sank. Because of some kind of problem, but the most serious part is that in that cruise at that time over 200 200 the young student, high schoolers were in there. But the problem is that the other adult, like the cruise staff, including who's that, the captain, announced them to not to move at all. They announced that you guys should be in your room, stay there. We don't have any problems. Serious
I
problem.
remember that.
Yeah, we can be arrived. Don't worry about. We can be survived. Don't worry about that. The captain and the other staffs kept saying that kept announcing that to the youngsters, the high schoolers, to over 200 people there, and then they were all thanked.
Wow.
And the other issue is that I think is that staffs, including captain, they were survived actually.
And they survived.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, to be survived, they did that actually.
Well, it was a ferry, right?
Yeah, it was
capsized.
Yeah. Was it a ferry between like Jeju-do and Korea?
Yes, right.
Okay. Jeju-do is a little island in the south part of Korea that's kind of like the Korean Hawaiian Islands. You know, that's where people go to be in the sun and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. That was just like in the last 10 years, wasn't it?
No, it is last year. It was last year.
Oh, okay, so it was just recently. Okay. Yeah.
I've never been in Korea, but what I've heard about Koreans is that they are really quiet people. So I'm picturing like being in the ferry and the captain saying that go back to your rooms and stay there, and I guess these guys did obey. Like they went to their rooms and they did what they were told.
They did what they were told.
That's their culture.
Yeah. You're
right. They died. So sad.
Yeah, or they didn't question because they're taught not to question. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, in my lifetime, I think there's two events that were. I mean, there's been a lot of events like the assassination of President Reagan, or the attempted assassination of President Reagan, the Challenger being destroyed when I was in high school, and then 9/11, and then the other one that to me was significant was in 2004 when the big typhoon in Asia, and Thailand was pretty much obliterated. You know, there's a part of Thailand just, and then I think a little bit of India as well. And do you guys remember that big tsunami?
Sure, there was a movie about it.
Christmas time, yeah. I had in Finland they had like about 5 or 6 young people come home, and they had lost their entire family, and it was really sad, and that to me was more moving than 911, and maybe it's because there were so many Finns involved, and I was there. I mean, I was in Finland at the time, possibly. So, but that to me was a big one as well. So, it looks like we are out of time. I do want to thank you all for your participation, and I'm really glad you guys had a lot to say. So, it's always really nice. And thank you all, and we'll see you later. It was nice to meet you, Na Young. I hope to see you in other classes as well. And it was great always to see you, Julio and Ken. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.